So, this is Gensh with Infernal's Development Log number 4, and the topic this time is what about the First Age? One of the things that was in the Infernal's preview was that, they're the worst of the Solars returned of the First Age. Um, that's kind of a difficult thing to have put in the preview, mainly because we don't know what the first age is going to entail any longer. I mean, one of the things that was a central theme for the game to begin with was that the Solars are the returning legacy of the first age, and that was left deliberately vague. We have no idea what it means, for the good guy Solar. It was a great time, and, things went bad towards the end, but we can make sure that doesn't happen this time. And with for the more selfish Solar, it can be the time where, okay, well, I ruled everything, but it was left open to interpretation. Um, of course, last edition, we ended up getting Dreams of the First Stage, which kind of implied that all of the Solars were just enormous, just terrible, terrible people. And that even though this isn't what the Sidereals killed everyone over, it kind of makes you think that they were in the right, regardless of why they wanted to kill people. And so obviously it's problematic when, writers say that the Infernals are going to be the worst of the First Age, because everybody automatically goes back to Dreams of the First Age, and I think we can all agree that, those were terrible people, and while Infernals aren't necessarily the best of people by default, using Dreams of the First Age as an example of Infernals it's bad. It's bad. Like, even for the villains, I would not necessarily want them all to be, that same sort of character type. So then, what exactly would it mean when we're saying that Infernals are the worst of the returning Solars of the First Age? Well, it doesn't mean anything, really. I mean, what the Infernals have in common with the Solars of the First Age is that they start out in luxury. That was what caused the downward spiral of the Solars in Dreams of the First Age, anyway, is that you had all these Elder Solars, and they were fabulously wealthy, they were in command, and they were completely jaded, and then you had the new Solars coming along from dying of old age or dying of intrigue or whatever, and, from the get-go, they were trained that, they were the best, they were better than everyone, and I can definitely see that's something that, the Infernals of the present day would have. Just from the beginning, they're taught by the Yozis and by the Third Circle demons. Okay, they're going to be the ones. They're the important people who are going to, Well, actually, I don't know that they would, or that the Yozis would explicitly tell them that they're trying to escape. Um, Especially since the Reclamation had such a strong focus in the last edition, to put it lightly. But they would still be just completely spoiling the Infernals, and I guess being spoiled, being extremely, privileged from the get-go, having all these artifacts, having these excellent mentors, instead of having to go out and find or, make these things for yourself. That's definitely something Infernals have in common with the First Age Solars, but the problem with referring to that as something from the First Age Solars is that it is stained by Dreams of the First Age, and no matter what you do, it's always going to go back to Dreams of the First Age. And really, I don't see why that reference needs to be made, because, the Abyssals also start out with all of the nice things that Infernals have. Although, sure, it might be a little creepier working with, Nephrax, but mostly you're going to be working with ghosts in the employ of the Death Lords, and, those are people, they're just dead people. It's not as bad as working with demons. So, obviously, the Infernals even aren't as well off as the Abyssals are, and it's, as I've said before, really, if you're going to go for the return of a dead legacy, you're gonna be wanting to use Abyssals for that rather than Infernals, and Infernals should really stand on their own 2 feet. They shouldn't have a whole lot to do with the solar narrative, other than the fact that, oh, hey, we need a narrative place for these guys. We're going to just piggyback them onto the solars because, there's no other place for them. So, bottom line, who is First Age U? Does he matter? No, he doesn't matter. His achievements were ephemeral. His castles were built on sand. If he was really that good, his stuff would be here. Okay, so you can find his sword in a tomb. It doesn't matter that that's because the base material is imperishable. It has nothing to do with his craftsmanship. Because if he was really that skilled, you'd think his empires would last this long too. So, who cares about First Age U? You should be offended by someone saying you're like First Age U, because you know what? First Age U died. He died embarrassingly. He got backstabbed, or he ran away and then got hunted down like a dog. It doesn't matter what he accomplished with his lifetime because he went out with a whimper. So it's all. That's the key with the Infernals narrative. It's all about you. It's about you personally. It's not about what your First Age incarnation did. Hell, if your exaltation's already been recycled, it's not about what the last Infernal who had your shard did. It's about you. What are you going to do with this phenomenal cosmic power? And how are you going to write your own story? It's about your story, not anyone else's.